I think Tesla is still at least 3 years ahead of the competition on all fronts, on electrification, on autonomy. They're building a humanoid robot, expected value of roughly $2,000 per share.
Ark Invest Tasha was just on TV to share Ark Invest's latest thoughts about Tesla stock. Let's take a look. This was pretty interesting.
What to do with arguably America's hottest big stock. Joining us now with insight is Ark Invest Director of Investment Analysis and Institutional Strategies, Tasha Keeney. Tasha, thanks for joining us again on Last Call. I mean,
thanks for having me.
It's tempting to just ride this Tesla train, but at the same time, is it smart to maybe take some profit in what has been a rocket of a run?
I would certainly sound caution after seeing a stock double, more than double, in less than 6 months. But that is only if you are investing in the short term. If you are investing in the long term, then you just want to buy regularly every single month, dollar cost average. You're going to buy a low, you're going to buy a little higher, and you will be guaranteed to not miss a huge run again when it happens in the future. It's not will it happen? It's about when will it happen?
Well, our price target for Tesla over the next 5 years is that we think it has an expected value of roughly $2,000 per share. And, we're talking about American-made cars here, which is critical. It's great brand image. It's great for our country. It's great for tax credits. But what the list does not show is that not all of these cars are made equal. And the advantage that Tesla has in software and in data is unparalleled compared to peers. And really, all automakers should be pursuing full autonomy, right? That's the future of the auto industry.
It never fails to amaze me how ignorant some of these executives can be. They missed the EV wave, and now they are getting on that wave. But now they are going to miss the full self-driving wave. Although I wouldn't really be blaming them for missing that, because the competency of being able to solve full self-driving that is required to have is quite different from just making EVs or gasoline-powered vehicles. So while it is hilarious that they are going to miss another huge wave, there's not much that they can do this time. But with EVs, they could have certainly started making EVs. For example, GM could have been the biggest EV maker in the world because they made the EV1 more than 2 decades ago. This time, all that they will be able to do is just try to cling onto a possible LiDAR solution that won't scale. And the smart companies will partner up with Tesla and license the full self-driving technology from Tesla.
Tesla, by our research, thanks to our associate Daniel McGuire, he put out some great stats today. We think that they're in full self-driving, their FSD software, their fleet is traveling over 1 million miles every 14 hours.
I did sense some uncertainty and hesitation when Tasha was speaking about these numbers, because these numbers are huge, but that does not make her wrong about it. She just doesn't want to sound crazy because, when you look at Tesla stock, you look at Tesla's history, you had to be, maybe not be crazy, but certainly you had to take the risk of sounding crazy if you wanted to be even remotely right about Tesla's stock in the past 10, 15 years.
That compares to just 2 million miles in the cumulative lifetime of Cruise, which is GM's autonomous car project.
This is the chart that Tasha is talking about. And looking at this chart, it took me a really good second to realize that this chart is not only about Tesla, because obviously this right here is Tesla, and I thought this green line for one good moment that it is just to make the chart look prettier. Little did I know in that moment, this line actually shows how many cumulative miles Cruise vehicles have driven so far. And these 2 dots, they represent Waymo. The competition is so embarrassingly behind. Sure, they might figure out local solutions that will work in very limited areas that will be painful to scale. But Tesla, the moment Tesla is able to have full self-driving in one city, it will pretty much happen almost immediately everywhere in the world.
So, the advantage is really unparalleled. And we think this is what unlocks superior AI capability.
But how do they, okay, I hear all that
at scale.
I hear that, Tasha. Now we got all these companies basically giving up and saying, we're coming to you, Tesla, for the charging standard, GM, Ford, and Rivian. But how do they monetize that? It's all cool, but how do you make money from it and justify these kinds of moves and valuations?
Yeah, well, I think, you brought up another great piece of news, which is Tesla's becoming the North American charging standard.
The moment you think the host is trying to pin Tasha down and say, this does not make sense, Tasha turns it around, flips the tables, and says, that good news, by the way, we don't even consider it in our valuation models, basically. Even though it actually does have a material impact, it just has very little impact compared to our $2,000 price target. Yeah, it's not really that important.
This gives them, a look under the hood at what these other EVs are doing on the road, where they're charging, sort of what some of their usage stats are. But you can imagine that this is kind of a gateway drug. I mean, Elon Musk said that he'd be willing to license autopilot technology. And again, I don't think that all of the traditional automakers will be able to achieve full autonomy. So, they're doing charging today, but maybe tomorrow they're going for autopilot because they can't make autonomous technology themselves. And, I think any automaker that does not really won't survive over the next decade. So we think this is going to be a significant portion of Tesla's value over the next 5 years.
In the long term, it is painfully obvious that these automakers will need to license full self-driving technology from Tesla. But don't forget that it has been obvious for a while now that they also would need to adapt Tesla's charging standard and partner up with Tesla to access Tesla superchargers, unless they don't mind going out of business or losing a lot of sales. And eventually they capitulated. Well, some of them already have, although not most of them yet, but that will change soon. Knowing that they can do such a silly thing and be stubborn for such a long time, with full self-driving, it's probably going to be the same thing. They will capitulate only at the very, very, very last moment, then it's almost too late, or too late actually for some of them.
Is there there's no other Musk, we get that, but is there potential? But by the way, there's actually a guy that runs Tesla day to day, gets no credit, he has no social media presence, no one even basically knows his name, but he's probably the one actually in the office 18 hours a day. Is there another Tesla out there, a Rivian, somebody else?
Well, there's certainly other EVs.
No, I mean,
right?
like, you know what I mean? Like, not other EVs, but like another Tesla potentially.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. It's really, I think Tesla is still at least 3 years ahead of the competition on all fronts, on electrification, on autonomy. They're building a humanoid robot, given, the experience that they have in solving for full self-driving. So that's something that these other companies really cannot match.
Actually, I can think of two more companies. Number one is SpaceX. Unless someone else is able to launch rockets at a very low cost, just like SpaceX can, yeah, you won't be able to compete with SpaceX putting the satellites in space, and therefore SpaceX can offer Starlink, which is internet that you can use anywhere in the world, and it works really well. We have one for ourselves, and it's amazing. We take it with us when we go on trips, and it works perfectly, even in extremely remote locations. So it will be very difficult for anyone to compete with that. And then Twitter, well, you don't want to bet against Elon Musk. He wants to continue what he wanted to do with PayPal, and that one has so much potential. Sadly, both of these companies are not available to investors unless you can invest privately in these companies. I can't really, so that sucks a little bit, but luckily I can invest into Tesla stock. By the way, a little while ago, there have been opportunities for private investors to invest in SpaceX, but they took a large percentage in fees, so I would just rather invest in Tesla stock. But if SpaceX was a publicly traded company, I would be buying some shares, and I would do the same with Twitter as well. Twitter in particular would be very interesting because Twitter's market cap right now would be extremely low, only about $20 billion. So you are starting from a very low point, and just to 10x your investment, Twitter would only need to go to $200 billion, and to 30x your investment, it only would need to go to $600 billion. Of course, not an easy thing to do, but You don't need to get to a $10 trillion market cap to have crazy return on your investment.
Yeah, but again, I just wonder, all the cool stuff around Tesla and the stock. It's like I always say, Tasha, the economy is not the stock market. One can go up while the other's going down and vice versa. Tesla and its stock, at some point, are they the same thing or could they be different? And I mean, because when a stock of this size doubles that quickly, you can't help a guy for having, the radar up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, ARK focuses broadly on innovation. And we find that, if you're looking backwards, it's very tough to predict sort of these exponential growth stories that we see. And I think that Tesla is just the perfect example of that. So again, I mean, we think that the expected value is $2,000 per share over the next 5 years. So this is just, it's been an amazing story, and we think it will continue to be an amazing story because of that unparalleled data advantage. Of course, they have a charging advantage. Also, they recently announced that they plan to have 100 exaflops of training capacity by the end of 2024. That's up from 4.6 that they announced last year at AI Day. So they're also going to have access to training that they can use for full self-driving, for their other AI projects that really very few companies have even access to, and they're actually building it in-house.
Going from 4.6 to 100, that's an improvement of more than 20 times. And to comment a little bit on the question that the host presented, this Tesla stock more than doubled in less than 6 months this year. Crazy. Isn't it too expensive? Well, the crazy thing is that Tesla stock at one point dropped about 70% from all-time highs. Now that is the crazy part. It's not that Tesla stock doubled from extreme lows. The crazy part is that it dropped that low in the first place. I know some of you are not able to buy a lot more Tesla stock because perhaps your active income is not that high anymore, but I hope that we would get that kind of opportunity that we had back in late December, early January again. That was very sweet, but it just didn't last all that long. I would love to load up on a lot more Tesla stock shares. Cheap, dirt cheap Tesla stock shares. And YouTube wants you to watch this video next, but if you haven't seen this Elon Musk interview yet, watch this one first. My name is Matt Posius. Like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.